Okay, welcome everybody. It took me a bit of time of tweaking and testing to set this up, but we're finally here. What the hell? Why don't we call this episode 3 of the GSC Podcast while we're at it? So, this is a discussion that is going to involve SPL, as you see before you. And I have a good friend as a guest, Giraffe from Holland. Hi there.
Giraffe from Holland is my government name. Please just call me Giraffe.
Pardon me. So many people... Anyways, that's an old joke. I already heard BKC say something like that once.
Well, it's not like anybody else calls me Giraffe from Holland.
Yeah. I thought that's what you go by, but... Giraffe.
Yes. Thank you for inviting me.
It's obviously great to have you, and for some people who only focus on GSC, this guy might fall under the radar. But actually, I was extremely impressed with his pretty much encyclopedic knowledge, not just of Gen 2, but also of Gen 3. So, we teamed up in GSC PL3, which was fun, although it went quite disastrously. But yeah.
That was a difficult crowd for me to manage, and I think you also struggled a little bit too.
It was my first managing experience.
Yeah. Well, we've learned some stuff from that, I hope, and we can probably move on to do something better. But today we wanted to dig into the GSC power rankings in SPL.
The player
do
pool.
Our own. Yeah.
All right.
You want to just start from the top, or?
Yeah, I would, though I think it's fair to just read the names first and then go into talking about each of them individually or based on teams. So here they are. From the Alpha Runers, we got Siatam Dice. From the Circus Maximus Tigers, we got Fear and Lily. The Cryonicles have Conflict. Woo! And Vileman. There's the Congregation of the Classiest with Century Express and Garay Oak. Century Express is a very recent ladder hero. I mean, he's one of two people that managed to get all of the GSC OU ladder achievements and got a custom avatar. Then from the Dragon Spiral Tyrants, there's the Soul Player, Real Jester, who a lot of people in, let's say, the mid-levels are more than familiar with. There's M-Dragon and... I can't read that because I'm looking through OBS. There's M-Dragon and BlazingDark in the Evergrande Bigs. We got Hyogafodex on the Indie Scooters. He did very well in the first GSC Invitational and has also won many tournaments in Pokemon Perfect. But we'll get back to them every one of their achievements and stuff. The Stark Sharks with Watashi, who I'm not personally very familiar with prior to the GSCPL 3, and Raichy. The Team Raiders have Aliss, so the most recent champion from the GSC Invitational, so GSC Invitational 2, and False, who is no slouch in GSC in my opinion. And we got the Wi-Fi Wolfpack, which is the last team, with D4 Repertoire and Lax. Lax is, wow, quite the veteran, right? He's been in very old SPLs, I think.
Really? Yeah, I hear some buzz about him being one of those players hanging around just outside of the top 10 list for some people. One of those guys who's built up a resume for himself in multiple gens, will play a little bit of everything. And there was even some discussion of him playing in Callus Invitational because of his quality of play. But yeah, Callus didn't want him because the dude will play just about anything and everything. And yeah, so it's interesting to see that he's behind D4 here. Yeah.
Yeah, I for one don't know if any of these players are playing other tiers. I mean, I don't know all of them at least.
I know for a fact Fear signed up for like ADV and SV. He didn't include like GSC on his list, so some of these guys probably signed up for other things and are like regretting it
Right.
a little bit right now.
So, are you saying that Fear didn't sign up for GSC?
No, no, there were a couple of these guys who were like they didn't even include GSC on the list. They you could list tiers that you were not interested in for the first time this year, and uh, he didn't list GSC on either of the lists, so it was obviously a flex slot for him. But he had two tiers, ADV and either SM or SV, listed as his main tiers, the tiers that he wanted to play.
Right.
But he's probably had a change of heart since, or has been bullied into the
Yeah,
GSC starting position.
I would bully him into it if I were their manager.
It's a little bit of a strange year because there were a lot of late signups from, yeah, boomers or, players who are at the top of the field. It was looking like we would have one of the weaker SPLs in years because there were a lot of players who had taken off. McMegan, M Dragon, those guys didn't sign up until the very last minute. Yeah, there were a few big names that were just they withheld their sign up for a minute. More in ADV, but definitely a couple over here too.
Okay. Well, yeah, I did have a look at the SPL signups, and I do remember quite a lot of them not not impressing me, not leaving me super impressed. But then, you know, with what we have now, I already wrote in the post at the bottom of this discussion that I'm actually quite impressed now with the end results. There
Yeah,
there were quite a lot of good players. I'd say there's some talent in just about every team.
yeah. I mean, you had some people who were throwing a little bit of shade at the quality of the pool this year, but um, yeah, I guess because you have some less experienced names here. Siatam is debuting in SPL, if I'm remembering correctly, but
Oh
he
yeah.
showed that he could really play in the last GSC Invitational. Um, yeah, I mean Jester, he's somebody who made a very deep run in Callus Invitational ADV Tour, but at the
Yep.
same time, he's shown that he's just a good Mons player in general, all around. He knows how to play. Century Express is a guy in a similar mold, but he's been around the block a few more times than Jester.
Well, he's
And yeah,
been
going down the
around
list.
for at least two other SPLs. So,
Oh
um,
yeah, no, he's got a layer of dirt on his skin right now.
yeah, and one was from
Um,
years ago, and he beat Lavos in a game, so that was something. But yeah, um, there were indeed people throwing shade. I'm not gonna mention names, um, but someone who started with a T was really complaining about the players, and I think they're just wrong. Like the players here are all mostly really good, I would say. But
I really got to figure out who you're talking about now, but we can get to that later.
yeah, it's. I mean, I just think they're wrong. That doesn't mean I think they're stupid or anything.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the like I said at the beginning, I wasn't impressed, but I knew that there were going to be lots of people signing up at near the ending, as it always happens, because
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, especially the old dogs. They always want that glory. They can't give up this drug, this addictive game.
Yeah.
So we could start off with the Alpha Ruiners.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, I don't know
Siatam
who
and
the
Dice.
managers are, but here are Siatam Dice, exactly.
Um, you're more familiar with what Siatam's been doing, but
Yeah.
after watching this GSC Invitational run last year, we saw some creative teams. I'm not sure whether they're innovation or just a little dangerous, but he's shown us that he can really take some names.
Holy
Um,
shit. That was something that was my reaction. When I was watching
yeah,
Siatam play GSC Invitational 2 all throughout, that basically sums up what I saw. Holy shit. Like, I can't remember if he placed third or fourth, but he had a deep, deep run in the GSC Invitational, taking games off of perhaps the most important players you could get. Like,
yeah.
everybody
He
had
knocked
some
out
impressive
Kennex, didn't
wins.
he?
He knocked out Kenix in like one of the earlier rounds, which was completely unexpected. Or he
Yeah.
sent him to losers or something. He sent Fong to losers.
Oh yeah, yeah. And for those who don't know, Kennex won the first Invitational, so he's got at least
Yeah.
one major tour under his belt. And friend of Mr. Golem is one of the best all-around players of last year. He's one of the best RBY players, one of the best GSCers, and he's been one of the best for a minute. And last year was a really good year for him, so he wasn't off form or anything. But
Yeah.
yeah, and he even made a deep run in this tournament, but to make it to, oh no, he didn't play Fong. Okay, yeah, it
He
was
didn't?
somebody else though. Um, but yeah, so
He didn't play
with
Fong?
no, Fong, I'm looking at it right now. He made it to winners bracket finals, which he couldn't have done if he took an L from Siatam, I think.
Yeah, okay. So before I spread more fake news, I'm gonna have the GSC Invitational um, thing open. So
Yeah,
who did? No, then I'm thinking about who am I thinking?
but
Okay. I know
Siatam
who I got him
definitely he
mixed
made
up
fourth
with.
placed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he made fourth place. He beat Jirachi. He beat Yeah, he did beat Kenix. Um, he beat Dice,
Dice. Yeah,
and now they're on the same team together.
yeah. And Dice even brought. Speaking of Dice, Dice is his own type of madness, or
Yeah,
he brought Dragonite into Siatam. Dragonite stall with some Sleep Talk Haze set. Um, and he also brought quite a bit of P2 in this tour too. Dice is a player who's a very creative individual, um, sometimes to his detriment, but he
yeah.
certainly knows how to play.
Dice is he's the theory crafter. He's the guy that will. Well, he's not just a theory crafter. He's really known that he made a name for himself of just, I would say, using roguelike strategies.
How do you
Um,
mean?
if if any of you are familiar with BKC's old SPL videos, and you pull up Dice vs. Lavos, or perhaps there might even be another one,
Oh
you
yeah,
see
yeah.
Dice use. I mean, this is one of those examples where Dice maybe goes a bit too far, and he brought um, reversal Heracross. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which is not, it's just not good in GSC. It's not. But then he has those moments which are just incredible. And when it's always exciting to see someone like Dice build. He's proficient in GSC, but I wouldn't even consider that his main. I got to know him through GSC, but I think looking at him play ADV and Black and White, I started to get a better understanding of what kind of player and builder he is and what kind of things he likes to do.
Yeah, he's a killer in every tier he plays. So
Yeah, the man can play. And so can Siatam. I'm pretty sure that their match, I covered it, or Wholesome Shadow, Dance of Hearts covered it for the GSC Invitational. But it was, I remember it being pretty impressive. I popped off pretty hard. If I'm not saying, spreading more fake news because I don't have the replays open here.
yeah,
Yeah, Quint versus Siatam. Okay, here we go.
yeah.
So, there's...
I think Dice is the better builder of the two, but Dice teams also have they have like a peculiarity to them so that not everybody can play them. Although I have seen him taking inspiration from some older teams. I've seen him using some Vil team from around the time of SPL 8, so as recent as 2 years ago. In CI5, I know that he's somebody who pays attention to the classics. He's definitely in touch with what people are doing, builds a lot, pays attention to what other people are doing in the builder. He's got his finger on the pulse for a lot of different trends. So, it's not that he's bringing ideas that are necessarily bad, but sometimes they're just extremely rare ideas that happen to be a little bit less spammable, but he does have a very successful brand of play, and we'll see how well they gel together. I'm not sure what they're going to do together, but I suspect that with the two of them together, they should be able to pull off a decent result, at least in the tier.
Yeah. I think that Siatam is going to be in the front line, simply because Dice is too valuable not to have in playing, I don't know, either Black and White or ADV.
White, probably. Black and White, probably.
Yeah. But they'll definitely have time, try to find time to test with each other. I think they could bounce ideas off each other, and, it also helps being from the same time zones. They're both, or similar time zones at least.
Okay. I didn't know that both of them were American, but...
Yeah. I did. I did.
Did you have anything you wanted to look at, or do you want to move on to the Tigers?
I was sort of showing a replay.
All right.
But
you want to say
just in the background, while you were talking. It's between Siatam and Dice, which was kind of cool, but it wasn't what I was looking for necessarily. I
think we could give a little description of them. For me, Dice is a player who's a little bit more of a funky offense player. Whereas Siatam fits a little bit more in a traditional offense mold. Yeah. He's a very aggressive player, but he can bring and does bring some stall every once in a while when he expects a more difficult opponent, I think. He farms people with offense and then plays a little bit of stall when he feels like he needs to get a safe game versus somebody that he thinks is at least as good as him.
Do you want to mention your impression on the Dragonite team that he brought?
Boy. I don't know what to make of that. I'm not sure that I understand it.
So it looks to me like he brought, because this is a long time since I've seen it, but it actually looks to me like he's bringing a Zakuru build.
Oh, the Umbreon Blissey uh, struggle sweep team.
Yeah, he has Reflect Haze, D-Knight with
Promise you it's
Rest,
different.
but there's a slight difference. There is a Snorlax
Yep.
instead of Blissey. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past someone to have similar levels of success. It's a little less passive that way, and Dice simply likes to work with offense. But no, this one has a Miltank, so it's actually slightly different. Ever so slightly. With the Heal Bell. Oh.
I
Okay.
wonder if he did take it from Zokaru, or at least drew some inspiration.
Possibly. It looks like one of those stalls that Gengar would
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
field trip with.
I I
Oh,
know that there's a rule of thumb when you're playing against Miltank teams when you're losing just click ice moves because eventually they won't be able to click heal bell once their Miltank is frozen.
good point. Yeah, just click ice moves. That I never heard of that rule of thumb. That's pretty interesting. So,
Oh, I've had a bit of luck with that myself.
okay. Well, in any case, we could move on to
Yeah,
the next team, which is Fear and Lily.
for
We
the
already
Tigers.
from the Tigers, yes, the Maximus Tigers.
To be completely honest, I'm not familiar with Lily's body of work. I'm not sure uh, I've ever seen a replay from her even. So, ball's in your court in that one, if you have anything.
Did Zokaru not face Lily
Yes,
in
yes. And I think that was
GSCPL
his
3?
win, his first win. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that Lily was. Um, I wouldn't be able to find the link right now.
Mm.
Let's see. If I just type in GSCPL, I could probably find something, but there's the replays
Um,
thread somewhere.
yeah.
But aside from that,
So
I don't know if it's anything to write home about, honestly.
she's relatively unknown. This will be the first high profile tournament that I've seen her in. Um, should she play? Um, yeah, remains to be seen what she'll do. Until then, I'm just going to be fairly neutral and say don't know either way with Lily. Fear is a player I have an opinion on, though.
You
He's
should.
yes, yes, he's one of the greats. He's been a little bit quiet in the GSC scene for a minute, and this is his return to, yeah, I guess high profile play.
All right. Fear. The Greek
Yeah,
Thunder.
that is the highlight of the team. He revolutionized the tier around SPL 11. He was spamming Whirlwind Zapdos, showing how few Sleep Talk users he could bring on the team. Um, Definitely giving a more offensive profile to GSC.
Oh, yeah.
You got something to say?
I got a lot to say, but I'll be your hype man for this one for a second.
Yeah, he was the first guy I noticed at least using Whirlwind Zapdos. He's very much one of the guys from the older school. I think he's been around since before Smogon, even. Uh, yeah, before Smogon was the main scene. Yeah, joined date 2006, 2004, around there. Um, he's been around the block. He was even the best uh, player in multiple gens for a period of time. Um, yeah, I mean, looking forward to seeing what he brings this time around. But uh, from what it looks like, he's been using mostly standard teams. But um, yeah, that's their only standard because he made them the standard. You see a lot of
Yeah.
people using teams in the current generation that he popularized, or
Whirlwind
especially the Whirlwinds.
Zapdos,
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
mentioned earlier, that's something that is it's almost commonplace now. Like it wasn't unheard of before, say, SPL 11. Like think of I don't know, Case Victory's Triple Thief team. That had Whirlwind Zapdos, but it
yeah,
wasn't nearly as successful, in my opinion, as how Fear just brought it to the metagame, and that wasn't the only innovation. Like he had plenty of innovations, and I don't know. It's just it was so incredible to watch, to watch him use Whirlwind Zapdos with Protect or things like that.
yeah. And he's been quiet for a minute, so we'll see if he's got any fresh takes that revolutionize the meta this year. I think he's one of the two or three big names in the list, players to beat, and he'll definitely be somebody who's setting trends
Yeah,
if he's anything like what he's been in previous years.
yeah. So he's had a few off years. I think maybe 13 wasn't very rewarding for him. But
Yeah, yeah,
there's something about his character that I really like a lot as well. You see, I've had the fortune to interact with him a bit, and he may be in hiding, and it's always nice to learn from him the few things that he's willing to share, because he he wants to stay under the radar, you know. He doesn't want to be noticed, but he does prep, he does practice, and then sometimes he might disappear, or he might only be prepping if he speaks to you. But there was a moment where he even opened up a YouTube channel. It's there,
yeah,
and he
yeah.
covered some one or two of his games, but he stopped because he was afraid of being scouted. That's just the type of person he is. He said that some of his losses could be directly attributed to people understanding his playstyle more. So make of that what you will. He's a
Mm,
meticulous person. It's really interesting.
yeah. Those are some very instructive videos on his YouTube channel, by the way. Would recommend checking them out.
Yeah, he's a lawyer too, or he's studying for the bar. I don't know, I, something like that.
Yeah.
But he's incredible, and what he did for GSC is nothing short of amazing.
One of
So
the things that I'd like to add before you, I guess, get into your stuff is one of the things that I think he does best is choosing text. He can always catch somebody on the jump with, you know, an unexpected idea. Um, he will bring well, in one of his games in SPL 13, he was expecting Quag according to his YouTube, and he decided to bring in HP Grass Zapdos. Uh, yeah, that was a little bit curious. We don't see HP Grass Zapdos every day.
certainly not. You see, um, I think it was him or Sulcata. I can't remember who to attribute authorship to, but Nightmare Starmie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 2020 or 2019 innovation.
I think I saw him using that a lot actually. So it might have come from Sulcata, but he definitely popularized that as well, or contributed to that.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Ah,
both
yes, it was Fear. Yes.
it was Fear. There's the GSCOU discussion thread. I can't believe I never seem to have the right threads open. But
He brought it, I think, twice, possibly three times in SPL 11 or so. Um,
oh,
I think yes, yes. They were successful. I'm not sure that he had to reveal substitute on them, on one of them at least, but he definitely brought offensive Starmie teams.
I wonder how he feels to see so many people use sub Nightmare Starmie to absolutely no avail because they have no proper setup whatsoever. Oh my god, PPL, like the Pokemon Perfect League this year was fucking stupid. How much I'm sorry guys, but you can't just have I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to I
You want to be
farmed those
positive?
guys. I want to be positive, positive. I'm positive that if you bring that again,
Looking like free Elo.
yeah, free Elo and a tour.
Yeah, yeah, easy wins.
This isn't what I was looking for. I was looking for a replay with Fear using the sub Nightmare Starmie, but I'll attempt one more link opening, and if we don't find it, then so be it. I doubt that. Let's see. This one might be the one. We have Cloy Gar Golem. Yeah, this could be it. Could be wrong. Nope. Nope. It's not. Whatever. You know, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
yeah. Maybe it was
Um,
SPL 12. I feel like it was SPL 12. If I just opened
um,
the
it might have been 10. Let's see if this is Bruno's. I think Bruno had a good year that year. Oh yeah, Kratos mana. Um, yeah, he didn't really show too much of his. It wasn't obvious what his set was in those games, but he did bring it twice, maybe three times, without revealing all of them.
I found the replay of Fear versus Sulcata in SPL 11. It was
Six.
week 6, yeah. So that's it for you. Oh my lord, the music. So yeah, I'm just gonna put this on hyper fast and go ahead a couple of turns, and you can already see as of turn 9, Fear is just dodging thunders with a Starmie and shit. So
Oh, this is even on stall.
yeah, well, personally, I think it just has to have the right setup. It doesn't have to be a matter of stall or not stall, though I
Yeah,
think that it's not as successful on stall. I think
that's fair.
um at least not in today's meta. This is 3 years ago, mind you. So and it's more reflective since it's the beginning of 3 years ago. It's more reflective of a meta of 4 years ago. Like we got 4E, Starmie, see one spinner put to sleep, and now they can't spin. That's kind of one of the reasons why I don't love the Starmie sub Nightmare Starmie on stall. Starmie is just so valuable, but
Mm.
um, I think this one worked out for Fear. I can't remember.
He also, yeah, yeah. He also brought it into Bruno that year. Kratos mana.
Yeah,
Um,
so
some Roar Nido Gar. Tar team with the Fori on there
Yeah.
to a win. Yeah, Fears had his successes. I think he went. I think he won all but maybe one of his games this year. So he's definitely not somebody who's to be trifled with.
No, not at all. Not at all. And yeah, I think we can move on to the
Yeah,
next. I think we've given a sufficient introduction to what
Fear.
we're about, to
Yeah,
fear, and
we got ourselves conflict and
and Vileman.
on the Cryonicles. And yeah, with conflict we know what we're getting. I think
Yeah,
he is the single best builder in GSC OU. Um, I haven't really seen anybody with the same creativity, the same depth of concept. At least in that particular mold, he's somebody who innovates. He's had a few less savory tour results in recent years. Early exits in the GSC Invitationals, but if you're looking at his teams, you can see that some of the ideas that he brings, yeah,
I simply
you could
love
see them having
conflict.
success. Yeah,
I love conflict.
yeah. He's been a bit unlucky too. I remember there was one game, I think it was versus Mr. E, where he had this perfect Steelix versus Skarmory endgame, where he got like crit two or three times in a row, or not in a row, but towards the end, and he just needed not to get crit, and he would have won in the third game of their best of three. Um,
I don't know.
but yeah, his
Playing conflict
yeah,
is like when conflict plays, he makes it an entirely different game. It's like the name of the game is, am I gonna let this man play, carry out his game plan? And you better have something for him because he has something for you. And
yeah,
yeah, he one of the things that I remember fondly was some of his double normal builds. He's used Porygon 2 plus Snorlax. He's used Snorlax plus Ursaring. I hear that he loves Ursaring, but Porygon 2 he had like Lovely Kiss, Double Edge, Earthquake, which is something you don't normally expect on a Snorlax, but it was always conducive to a certain game plan. And also in previous SPLs he had like three normal resists before anybody was ever doing that on offense. It was T-Tar, Steelix, and Gengar. That's like
yes, yeah.
incredible.
And I think he was using a rest curse tar in one of those games, or maybe that's another, yeah, another take on the team that he had somewhere else. But yeah, Star Master spam this team with Mixtar, and I think Conflict was the first guy that I saw to do that as well.
Yeah, I remember SPL 12 finals, which I think I did a video with Attack on Samurott, shoutouts, trying to reconstruct the battle between him and ABR if if they had simply played differently and maybe there weren't any crits. So we just
Yes,
used the same teams more or less.
yeah.
And yeah, do
What did
excuse
you
me
come
for
up with?
1 second. What did we come
I've
up
lost my
with?
fear of Throt. Oh yes, yes. You were recreating the game between ABR and Conflict with the same matchups, I guess.
Yeah, the same teams more or less. It was pretty interesting, but I can't say I remember which of us won. I think I won the game, and I think I was using Conflict's team. I
Okay.
remember ABR had Rest Talk Curse Lax,
Yeah.
and Conflict had Curse EQ Lax, and he was just setting up. Um, but basically,
You don't
Conflict,
usually see conflicts Kersey Kulaks win in the one versus the Sleep Talk Lax. He got a crit early and then ABR was out of commission.
he got two
Um,
crits, I think.
oh yes, he got the
Yeah,
crit on Lax and then later on the phaser, I think.
yeah, but that was super exciting. It was the most GSC thing you could ever expect of a finals. So
Yeah, I think that was a little bit cheesy from Conflict to
yeah,
engage in the yeah.
yeah, but he didn't
Um,
want to lose the upper hand. He didn't want to concede too much to a Lax that was just setting up because he
yeah,
assumed EQ on the other end. He basically
yeah,
assumed the worst. So he went and
yeah,
set up. That was the whole idea.
and it worked out for him. So,
Yeah. And we got
and ABR
Vileman,
was coming off of the back of a. I think he had one loss that whole season in GSC.
ABR.
Um, yeah, yeah,
I don't know.
he was really dominant in that run. That was like ABR was the player to beat that year.
Was that not the year that ABR was spreading anti-baton pass propaganda?
Yes, while also spamming baton pass to prove his point.
Yeah. I didn't like all of those teams, but there were some interesting ones. In fact, there was, if I'm not mistaken, there was a game between, um, excellent segue, between him and Vileman.
Yes, heroic Breezy with his Umbreon pass, Blissey, but no Snorlax team, if I'm recalling correctly.
It was body slam baton pass Umbreon. Rest Cloister. Um, yeah.
Parish
And
Clap Mischievous.
Mistrovis and Zapdos, which was the only sleep talker, and Blissey. And
Yeah,
and
he's the fisherman.
he got a helpful body slam para. It did in and of itself. It didn't really stop. Um, it didn't really stop Vileman from stopping the from it preventing the
Baton
Parish
pass.
song
Yeah,
shenanigans,
yeah.
but it still wore down the Steelix even more, and the Steelix was also running out of like roar PP. That's
And you have like a 1 in 8 chance of landing the Parish Trap with. I think. Well, didn't he have like confused around Mischievous? So it was like Parafusion.
very
You have
well. He
to.
very well may have. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was you have the paralysis chance, you have the confusion chance, and he has protect. He just needs to confuse you while you're paralyzed and then hit the perish song and then hit a double protect. And uh yeah, the odds aren't bad for ABR. If he's doing it 8 times in a game, because that's how much PP that perish song has, then chances are that he gets it through at least once, if
Yeah.
not better,
Yeah.
versus accurate play at least once.
So what do you think of Vileman?
Um, I've seen him play himself into winning positions. He's a very hard worker. He's a very honest player. He learns from everyone. He's very curious, and I think he's got the right attitude. But he's also found himself in positions where he's just haxed out of a win, whether that be because of team choices not permitting sensible defensive counterplay versus certain threats, or just downright horrible luck. I think he's somebody who can pick up a few wins if he were to start, um, but he hasn't been as effective as his play would otherwise lend itself to, I imagine. Yeah, I think he's competent and capable, but um, he's yet to put it all together. and get the results. And I don't think it's entirely his fault, but I don't know what he's going to add to a team that already has conflict on it, unless conflict decides to delegate, the GSC slot to him and prep with him and play in a different tier. But yeah, Vileman is a diligent scouter. I think he'll be a very valuable supporting member to the Cryonicles, at least, if not starting, I guess. And I think that the two of them together probably make the strongest duo here.
Yeah, for sure. I did a scout on Vileman in I think it was for Tony Flygon in GSC CPL, and Vileman. I don't know if Vileman builds his own teams, but
it was for Zokaru because they played.
Oh, it was for Zokaru. Silly me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's hard to remember since all of the games we basically lost every single game in GSCPL, but we got 1 point throughout the whole 5 weeks, so that's the worst performance in the history of the tour. But
Zokaru playing. You mentioned his Blissey Dragonite stall. That was the team he brought into Vileman that week.
Right. Yeah. He wanted to farm him, but Vileman is no easy player to farm, especially because I think that Vileman brought something like Growth Jolteon. So that's something to keep in mind. Vileman definitely knows their way around the tier, and they can, with the sufficient prep, be ready for even very high-level opponents.
No doubt. And I think he's also good at picking threats to bring into his opponents. Very competent in prep, I think.
Yeah. And the congregation of the classiest. We got Century Express and Garay Oak.
I don't know a whole lot about Garay Oak. I've seen him in the GSC Invitational. He's one of those players who he's in and around some of these stronger tours, but I'm fairly sure that he doesn't main GSC. I can't really put a number to his strength, but I've seen him beat some stronger players, have some good performances, but he's not too much of an innovator in the builder. He brings decent teams. He knows his way around the tier. I think seeing Century Express start over him is probably the right decision.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put it past the team maybe for 1 week or two to have Garay Oak in the lineup instead.
For sure.
Seeing as
he can get results.
Yeah, he can definitely get results. Century Express is proficient in multiple tiers. He's kind of like, I don't know if I would put him on the level of Dice, but I've seen him play Black and White and stuff. I guess he's also a little unconventional in that tier, but that's not the topic of discussion here. Century Express is a really high-level player when it comes to GSC. I think that might actually be their best tier, and OU especially. In fact, he knows Gen 2 so well that he is a contributor for the contributions and corrections. Like he's in the QC team, for the quality control team for the Smog Dex analysis, even for GSC UU and stuff. And he's recently one of the ladder heroes. Let's say he's a recent ladder hero, and he reached 1700 elo in GSC, which is something I thought to be a legend before, a few months ago when Sulcata did it, and he just beat Sulcata's record.
For a ladder hero, he makes an awful lot of people cry. I've had some people send me messages after playing him on the ladders, saying that they were frustrated by how effortlessly he's winning sometimes.
I asked him how the hell he gets 30 game streaks when I can't even scratch 7. Like, it's fucking... I never got a 10-game win streak.
You can
And,
definitely play with fear and conflict
oh, yeah.
on their game. I think actually probably the weakest part of his game is building. Not to say that he's a slouch. He's definitely one of the better builders in this list. Yeah, he's decidedly a good builder, but I wouldn't say that prep is what separates him from the rest of the field. We can see him probably playing one of the games of the season just by making a brilliant double switch or something. And I think he's got his own. He's got an attractive style of play. He's fun to watch play sometimes.
Yeah, he's... I can't quite remember any conventional teams of his, and I don't even know if I fought him on ladder recently, but I do remember running into fucking Articuno. He does do some crazy stuff sometimes. Like, he's not afraid to experiment, but he's not going to always do it to the detriment of his own play, I would say. Is he the best? No, but he's not afraid to test things and find new innovations, even minor innovations. Like, the results of his findings are usually kind of fruitful. Like, you could... I remember in one thread he posted how light screen Zapdos paired with a certain set of Snorlax could be beneficial. And why not, you know?
A cute idea, yeah.
He doesn't do things by the book. And a little fun fact, my first ever video on my YouTube channel, I think I might have unlisted it, but my first ever video was me playing the Runes of Elf tour, where I face him, and he brings double Ghost and Mean Look Umbreon, and he traps my Zapdos and kills it with Raikou. So, and it was double Ghost.
Yeah.
So,
probably caught a few explosions with that team, I imagine.
yeah, but the thing is, I'm not saying he's good because of the heat that he brings or stuff like that, but I think
he's fluent.
He's fluent, yes. And in SPL 9, everybody remembers that famous Lavos thread with all of Lavos' teams, and
yeah.
And Century Express is one of the only names to register a defeat in that long list of replays and teams.
That was Lavos' best SPL and one of the best seasons on record. So
yeah. I'm not talking about 10 though. SPL 10 was, I think, his best, and SPL 9 was his. He won like 7 or 8 games and didn't make it to the final. And his team
one
didn't
of the
make
best seasons on record.
Yeah, it is. It is, followed by the best season. But not many people can boast beating Lavos even in a single game in his prime. So moving on, we got a familiar face for many people in the I would say mid-level circles, if I can allow myself to say that. The Dragon Spiral Tyrants has Real Jester, or Jester, or the Real Jester.
Or a Real Jester, or if you're Georgie, a real bastard.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's been making runs recently. He's been racking up a few wins in multiple tiers. He's very much a player. He will prep. His style is to bring flawed teams, but he's like very much loaded up to what he expects his opponents to bring, and he's generally got a good intuition about that. I've seen him get a couple of auto wins. versus better names and versus players who are a little bit more difficult to scout, he'll sometimes struggle a little bit. I expect this is going to be one of the weaker slots only because he's all by himself. And there are a couple of really big names on the list that he has to play against with support of their own. But maybe halfway through the season, he'll turn it around. I expect if after a couple of reps, he'll be winning a couple in a row towards the end because this is a player who's very consistently capable of getting extremely good results. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? He's a real player.
I think he's pretty high octane, I guess. But
That too. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think he has some interesting meta takes when it comes to picking his threats. He knows how to bring a tech that will win a game for him. So every so often, just he's a tough opponent sometimes.
Yeah, real Jester is definitely presented with the biggest challenge, just the toughest challenge being alone and being, well, not he's not yet quite established. Maybe this will be a good year for him. He had a deep run in the Callus Invitational though. That was pretty impressive. So he he has the mindset. He has the mentality to cause some upsets for sure.
And he can prep too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that he's at least somewhat studious because I've seen him improve tremendously in the last year or so. So he can, yeah, he's peaking in 2023. We'll see how far he can take it just now.
Okay. What about good friend of ours from the Evergrande Bigs? We got M Dragon, also BlazingDark, but
Um,
M Dragon was
yeah,
on
I
our
want to
team in
touch.
PPL.
Can we touch Blazing Dark first?
Sure, I don't know much besides the fact that they might be French. That might be that's the only thing I think I
Yeah,
know.
he's been very active on Pokemon Perfect. I think that's where he's done most of his damage. Um, he's collected a couple of wins in major tours. He's um, not unknown. Um, he's also played in the GSC Invitational play-ins a couple of times, from what I recall. Um, well, there were only two invitationals, so it would have been two times.
Right.
um, yeah, he's not an established player yet. I think he's somebody who has definitely got some potential. I can't really speak too much to his game, but um, yeah, I think it's very clear that the main event here is M Dragon.
Yeah, M Dragon. M Dragon is the pioneer, one of the pioneers of Gen 2, Gen 3, and probably a bunch of other old gens. And I mean,
There's
it
a
says,
joke that if you ever say that you've built a new team, he comes out to say, "Oh, I already built that."
yeah, that's a very accurate joke.
Yeah, I even had this happen to me in PPL when we were teamed with him, where I shared a team of mine, and I was very proud of it. And he said, "Oh yeah, I got 1800 with that on the late ADV ladder."
Yeah, so he's a pretty strong ladder goon. I actually ended up facing him, and we took one or two games off each other. That was fun. So that's a small flex, I guess. But I'm kind of happy that I took a game off of someone so knowledgeable when it comes to this tier. And look, if you're not familiar, new viewers, Gen 2, people who want to get associated with Gen 2 want to learn Gen 2 overused. He, M Dragon, made this amazing post,
Yeah,
basically a historical post of all of the competitive Gen 2 teams that were built way back when, and
It's
starting from
called
2004.
GSC teams throughout the ages.
Yeah, and it's an incredible read. It's more like a thesis. It's like a dissertation more than a thread. I'm surprised he
He's
managed to
been
fit it all.
around. He's seen it all, done it all,
Yeah.
and again.
So
What?
Gorgie had a bit of a hot take on M Dragon. He
Yeah.
says, M Dragon is that old dog with strong opinions that are strongly held, which is a recipe for an average performance, especially in the data driven competitive environment today. Obviously, with his ability, he could very easily super outperform this prediction. But from what I know and have seen for years, I'm sticking to my guns on this call. So his call being that M Dragon is the sixth to fifth best or something in the player pool, according to himself. But he also left out Siatam and stuff, and that's just not right. So,
Yeah. I think um I think well, if you look at the list, he's got conflict first, D4 second, that's the odd pick, and then he's got Sentry Express and Fear more or less on the same level in joint third and M Dragon behind. I don't think it's I think you can be that low on M Dragon. You can put him behind Conflict and Fear and Sentry Express, who are some of the best GSCers of the past couple of years.
sure, sure.
Um, I think he's just especially high on D4. So if we take all that into consideration, we can say that M Dragon. I think it's fair to put him in the discussion of like, is he better than Fear, Sentry Express, Conflict? Top four player of the pool, in my opinion.
Right.
Um,
And I guess he might not be. In that regard, I would say it's fair. It's just, it sounded rather harsh, you know? And not not that I'm trying to suggest that there's beef. M Dragon is one of the most respected people ever, and Gorgie is also awesome. I think that um, there might be, there could be some truth to that, but a little insider's note is that M Dragon always pays attention to Gen 2, at least as far as I'm concerned. He pays close attention to. He's pretty active in ADV as well, but he's paid
he was on
attention
the
to.
council of the GSC uh, Old Gens Council. He was on the council until um, some point in the second invitational when, or just after when Mean Look Pass was banned. Um, he was a little bit disappointed because he saw this as a sign that stall would become a little bit less, yeah, a little bit more unbalanced, a little bit less in check, and he took a little bit of distance from GSC after that. And we knew around the time of PPL uh, he was feeling a little bit rusty and didn't particularly care to play too many GSC games as a starter. Um, uh, but you know, he's had his time off.
I
He's
think he
probably
played
coming
the
back with fresh
tiebreakers with
eyes.
me. He played the tiebreakers with me. He played
Oh,
GSC. Yeah,
did he
he
did he play
faced
the game?
he faced Patat. No, wait, no, never mind. Um,
Yes, we won before that.
no, we didn't. So there were no tiebreakers, but so what
Yes, he was
happened?
to
Because he
play a
played so
game
many
in the
different tiers.
tiebreakers.
He
Yeah.
played like five different tiers, and in PPL, it didn't go very well for him. And in the finals, he was prospected to face Patat, but I faced Markop, and I beat Markop, and we won the finals before he ever ended up having to play Patat.
I think it's important to mention at this time the reason why Georgie has M Dragon so low and mentions him as a an old dog with strong opinions that are strongly held. He's got his boomer teams. He hasn't lost his fastball at all. If you've seen his games in the past couple of months, you'll notice like in Callus Invitational for ADV, he didn't author a deep run, but he very much outplayed his opponents. Um, had an unfortunate early exit, but he got some difficult matchups because he wanted to play some teams that he has said weren't necessarily the best idea.
Right.
The same can be said for the RBY Invitational. He, well, not the same because he made a very deep run and made it, I think, to the fourth spot or around about there.
Damn.
He uh, he's been killing it in RBY. He's in the GSC Invitational. He brought some very fresh and unique ideas, and the only question is whether he's willing to adapt to current meta because some of his ideas are a little bit, um, well, I don't want to say out of place because I do think some of them are brilliant. And I do think he's one of these players with a very high ceiling. He can easily build with the best of them. But at the same time, he's got a pretty low floor and he will bring an idea every once in a while that has some weaknesses to the ways that people are playing in the modern meta games across tiers in general. And I
Yeah.
think it depends on what attitude he brings to the tournament because he is looking as good as he ever has in game, but he has been getting a little bit unlucky because he's a little underprepared for something. Checking out some replays from his GSC Invitational run,
Yeah,
he did play.
I was
Yeah,
uh I was loading that up just now. Um, because I wanted to I wanted to find the replay, but yeah, there are three replays. I have them all open here. I just want to find the absolute most extravagant thing I've ever seen. And here it is. So in GSC Invitational 2, he in the first week, very first week, it's not winners or losers, it's just neutral, and he's facing Zakuru, game 3. God damn it with the music again. All right.
game
And
three. I thought they only played two. Well, go
no,
on.
they played 3. They played
I
3.
see.
So Zakuru won the first one, where I think he brought offense, and
He
this
brought
moment just
Heracross
speaks for
twice.
itself.
Yeah.
He brought stall twice, right? So he brings his Zakuru stall, and Lax sets up a belly drum, goes for a body slam, hits the Skarmory, and goes for another body slam just to, convince Zakuru that there's nothing to suspect here. Goes for another body slam, and eventually, oh my god, he goes for another body slam. Okay, this is
He's very
distracting.
disciplined.
Yes, very disciplined with a timer at that. So Zakuru feels uber safe in this scenario, I guess. And then boom. Absolutely murders the Skarmory. And you can guess what's in the back.
Yeah, I think he brought Heracross twice in a row that week.
He brought El Bicho. In one of the games, he called it El Bicho. He brought Heracross, and that just murders this team without Skarmory. So, but
Yeah.
I've never seen Belly Drum self-destruct, and it was when I saw it, I'm like, that's clearly a Zakuru counter, because Zakuru loves his Sleep Talk Skarmory and doesn't have Whirlwind on it on this particular team. So, it was, I don't know, man. It was really something.
Yeah. And I know that he likes his baton pass. There's this game that he played against friend of Mr. Golem in the first invitational with some acid armor growth pass Vaporeon
Right.
to Jinx. And he's got Eggy, Steelix, Zapdos, Snorlax. No spikes. He can get a little bit, yeah, creative. He also likes his Gengar on stall sometimes, or
And let's not
uh,
forget that he gave a huge hand to Kenix and
oh
in the
yeah,
first invitational. Like that's one of the people that Kenix acknowledges in terms of support when he won that invitational. So, um, you know.
And they did team up in SPL 12,
Oh yeah.
where Kenix did not play, but Kenix was in support. So they were they spent a little bit more time together.
Speaking of the invitational one, we have the runner-up of that tour, Hyogafodex or Hyoga, from the repping the indie scooters. He's a good player. I can't say I remember all too much. I just remember that he had some offense teams with
Fairly standard, fairly standard.
pretty standard, but one little thing was the sleep talk EQ. Like he would really rock
Yes.
that a lot. And
Even on Nito Targar, I noticed that he
right.
very rarely used a Sleep Talk Curse Lax, which is one of the yeah, that's in vogue. It's one of the main reasons to use that team because you can very easily fit a Curse Lax there, a Sleep Talk Curse Lax.
Yeah. And he obviously has, aside from the medals, because anyone I guess could win a tour and stuff, but he won lots of tours in the Pokemon Perfect League, but he also has W's on some pretty notable players.
His first invitational run, I don't have the list in front of me, but the only person who looked to be able to stop him was Kenix. He was like a buzzsaw through the whole competition, you know. He was beating everyone convincingly, and he didn't have an easy run at it either. He made it all the way to the finals.
Yeah. He faced he was on the loser side though. And
Yes,
he
yes.
faced Mr. 378 in the semis, or no,
Not
it's
an
not
easy
semis because
opponent.
It's a double elimination. So it was the losers
Loser
finals.
semis.
Losers
Oh
finals,
yeah,
right?
yes. Losers finals. Yes.
I remember Mr. 378 who remarking that he did get a little lucked out. He sort of lucked out. I can't speak English today. And I think maybe in that last game. But that's not to take anything away from Hyoga. Like, sometimes there are just elements that are out of our control. But yeah, Mr. 378, Daniel, just he's a king. Like, really good at GSC OU. No easy opponent. Super aggressive. It was really fun. Just
Also a snub on this list, surprisingly. A player who would have deserved a starting berth, but
yeah, for
this
sure.
is the Hyoga show right now, so let me not get too distracted by that. But yeah,
Yeah,
he's got a couple of big wins against big name players, and Mr. 378 was another player who was very dominant in that tournament, and I think also had a decent run in the GC Invitational too, if I'm remembering that correctly. Um, he's a very steady, consistent um, player who ends up winning more games than he loses consistently. So this is not a player that, he's not a slouch. And Hyoga got one over him. Yeah, he can play, he can prep. He's a little bit it remains to be seen whether he's well enough supported here. Because he's by himself, whereas we can see a couple of these other names do have support. Um, I don't know. Actually, if I'm looking at this list, um, say like Dice, Vileman, and possibly False and Lax. Yeah, okay. So like half of the teams have support that is a support core that looks to be dangerous, I would say. But yeah, maybe it's not a problem. Maybe he can take this on by himself, or maybe there's somebody in the scooters who, yeah, has some knowledge of the game that isn't listed here. Um, But yeah, he's one of the players who I expect to be. Well, if I had to put a number to him, I'd say that he's right behind those big four names that we just mentioned: Fear, Conflict, M Dragon, and Century Express, and he can easily outperform any one of them if he's on form.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Stark Sharks. Shark Starks. We got Watashi and Raichy. So they both rhyme, sort of. Not really. Watashi recently, I think, went 5-1 in OU for GSC PL3. If I'm,
Interesting.
it definitely got 4 wins, which is respectable. GSC PL3. I should have the
I can't say
spreadsheet.
that I've remarked on anything that he's done prior to that, and I also missed that, so
So yeah,
I'm
I
definitely not
was
the one to ask about him.
yeah, I can't quite
He's
remember.
normally one of those names that I see signing up for other starting spots, tiers that are not GSC OU. So I'm a little bit surprised to see his name here, just because I haven't seen him in the Invitational. I haven't seen him play OU and SPL. Maybe I have and I forgot, but he's never been a starter for sure.
Okay, 4-1.
I just haven't seen the body of work, so this is yeah news to me that he went 4-1.
Yeah, that's beat let's see. Well, they beat no, they didn't beat Ruby Blood. They beat Torchic, Vileman, Zakuru, and Shiloh. So,
Okay, those aren't uh, bad players. I'd say that he's yeah. If he's going positive and strongly positive against the field of players like that, it is a small sample size, but it shows that he at least knows how to play the game. I think GSC is a tier that is generally friendly to players who are maybe less experienced in the builder. It's not a tier that's especially difficult to pick up. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised if he were able to get results even with his uh, relative lack of experience compared to the other names on the list, I guess. Um, but yeah, I've actually been more familiar with what Raichy has been doing. He's been an SPL starter, I think, even in GSC OU.
huh. Well, I think that they played in one, if not both, of the invitationals as well. Oh, look at
Raichy,
that.
sure, yes.
Yeah, so I pulled up Invitational 1, and Raishi made it to Losers Bracket Round 6. So,
That's pretty deep, yeah.
got,
Um,
yeah, that is pretty deep. Got eliminated by Star Master.
After watching his games, I think he's somebody who can really play the game, but um, I don't know whether he's the strongest builder in the tier. So um, I don't know how their prep is going to go. I do suspect, though, that um, yeah, this isn't as outrageous a pick as some people might be making it out to be. They're no
Yeah,
Mr. 378, but there are a few players who can claim to be on that level either. So these aren't. It's not a surprise that we're seeing these names here. I don't think Raichi, maybe Watashi starting in GSC, but seeing Raichi is not a surprise.
not at all. And even without having seen him play OU, like even if I had not seen him play OU, it would make sense to me because in my experience in other tours, he's played GSC UU against me and he's kicked my ass, and he has a couple of other people in his body bag, so I think the skills carry over. Like when you can show that you can play and not just win but also play well, in even a lower tier, but in a methodical way and shit, it's as long as you're not shooting yourself in the foot with bad teams, then you can get results. You can definitely get results and get rewarded. So, yeah, as far as Raichy's concerned, he's good in my book. So, moving back to the, oh Lord, the
You've got
display.
Team Raiders with
The Team
Aliss
Raiders,
and
yeah.
False.
Aliss and False. False. I remember. So, who should we start with?
Well, let's start with False because
Okay.
I think we're a little bit more. I think his resume is a little bit more set in stone. I think it's a little bit more apparent with him, I guess, what's going on.
Well, I don't like. I haven't been paying too close attention to all of the circuit tours, but False is a name that I'm not like you're not unfamiliar with um, if you look at the top placers in tournaments like the GSC Global Championships.
Yes. I think he also authored a deep run in GSC Cup this past time.
What, like
Um,
semis or
yeah, I think around there, yeah. He was in replay stages, I'm sure.
right?
Um, Either that or I'm confusing it with another tour, but I'm pretty sure it was Cup. And GSC Cup is uh, one of the biggest and most prestigious tours in GSC around the uh, or on the calendar. So this isn't a player who, yeah, he's not somebody who's got like the highest profile in terms of like um we didn't see so much. We didn't see him in the Invitational, but we have seen him in SPL before, I'm sure. Um, and he's gotten a lot of results. So, um, yeah, I don't know what to make of him too much, but because I haven't been paying so much attention to his game. But he's definitely around, and yeah, this guy is also another name who's not a surprise um, to see here, I guess.
And then we got Alice,
This
who
one's a little bit controversial, I think. Um, Alice, she won the GSC Invitational too, and she did bring a lot of sample teams. She also brought some original teams, her own flavors of physical offense, I guess. Some ride-on offense, every like Marowak offense. Uh, a little bit of Machamp here. Not really hopping on trends.
the famous double elect Machamp team with Golem and Cloyster,
And I think there was also a triple ground team, if I'm remembering correctly.
maybe. You definitely know more than me. I have to actually pull something up to remember it, or I have to have commentated on it.
um, yeah, she won the big one. Single most prestigious tour in GSC.
The
This
highest
or
paying
SPL, I
one.
guess. What's that?
The highest
Yes,
paying one as well.
yes.
We can boast that
um,
now.
she got a little bit lucky, but at the same time, her prep was to bring Machamp. Everybody knows that Cross Chop has a high crit rate. She brought it into Star Master, who definitely brought a couple of uh, stall teams that weren't really happy to run into it, and a couple of like triple. He brought his triple normal resist teams multiple times in the tour, so obviously she knows how to prep. Um, so that was a good choice in my opinion. Um, this is somebody who I think it's not unfair if you were to look at this person and say she got very lucky because there were a lot of wins on RNG. But at the same time, she won it from winners brackets, and her prep generally gave her the advantage to press for better RNG.
Right.
So it's hard to say how much she deserved to win the whole thing. it would be unfair, in my opinion, to say that she didn't deserve to at least be in the discussion in the later stages. And I know that she's also very competent in RBY and has some ADV
Very,
chops. And yes,
very competent. And
yeah,
also, I can tell she has the gamer genes.
yes,
Like, I, this isn't really, this is more of a first-hand experience with it, but when I used to be more in love with the everything related to Ruins of Alph, there was the Indigo Plateau or whatever it was called, the Victory Road Challenge, and she was one of those reps. She was like the gym leader for GSC OU, and she kept kicking my ass, and I'd come back every 2 days, and I just couldn't beat her. And
yeah.
I had to rely on winning GSC OU, otherwise there was no hope for me. I'm a one trick pony, and I just never delve into the other tiers, and I felt like if I couldn't do it in Gen 2, then I would never pick up wins in the other tiers, and it wouldn't be worth it. But you have to beat like 7 or 8 gym leaders, and there were 14 gyms, because it was like 7 old gens and 1 OU and 1 UU, or Ubers, depending on the time of year.
Mm.
I couldn't hack it.
She's I don't know if you could call her a rising star, but she's definitely peaking in 2023. She's coming off of a really, really impressive year with a strong result in the RBY Invitational. Um, and she's been in and around like a number of larger tours on Smogon. Um, yeah, she's very much an active Smogonite. And I don't think that she's ever been better. So this could be the year where we see Alice the superstar, or was it all a mirage? I'm leaning more in the direction of, yeah, Alice is a strong player and deserves to be here though. So like, um, yeah,
It'll be fun to
definitely going to
watch.
be in the thick of it. Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
she was now it actually I just remembered. We were on the same team in the Magnificent Mucks, shoutouts. In GSCPL 1. That was a holy crap. I think we had like Vileman, Conflict, and Alice all, or something like that, all on the same team. That was, yet we didn't do very well because
Yeah.
our lower tiers were. That was actually my GSC UU debut, but uh, I
So
wanted to
you were
play
the one who got
NU,
to, yeah,
but I had
you were the one who got
Holly.
to bring the team down.
I had Dawn. Yeah, exactly. I share that responsibility. There was Dawn and me, Phantos 13. Yeah, and there were quite a lot of Germans, so that would make sense.
Hmm.
That there were, or German speakers. Sorry,
Okay.
okay, because Alice is from Netherlands,
The
and
Netherlands,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Um, so I guess whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is that she was one of the better performers, if not the best performer in on our team. Like, she was taking home the wins week in, week out. Whereas I don't think it went as well for Conflict, but shit happens. Whatever.
Hmm.
It's Conflict. He's the best. We don't care. We don't. We don't. We. It's scientifically proven. All right.
Yeah. But I think the last thing I'd like to say on this, at least, is Alice has shown that she has her own view of the meta, um,
Yes.
and she can build. So this is definitely going to be one of the more uh, iconic players of the tournament. One to watch for sure. See how she makes her mark on the meta, um, and if her ideas are just as good as they were in the GC Invitational.
Yeah. I. I. I can't even explain how sorry I am that the audio for the finals, the grand finals, was not good, and we actually failed to get the interview um, recorded properly. So we actually like Dance of Hearts and I actually interviewed her, but it just didn't. uh, we couldn't hear anything. There was some problem with both of our setups. It was terrible, terrible,
Mm.
terrible, and I'm sorry. Moving on. We got the last team, the Wi-Fi Wolfpack with D4 Repertoire and Lax.
And at this point, I should mention, I think the wolf pack is being managed by ABR, if I'm remembering correctly. Um,
Da, da. And Tony Flygon plus one more
yes.
person.
Um, yeah. Oh, yeah.
If
Um,
you just go, if you have the
I
SPL
opened it.
discussion
Yeah.
open, yeah, there's
Yeah.
the spoilers, but it
I'm
doesn't
looking
show.
at all the other managers right now, and I don't see any people known for GSC. I guess like TDK is there, but he's like not GSCer. Like he's a multi-gen player, and I don't know that he's a yeah. Well, anyhow, ABR is in SPL 12. He was the man of the year. That was when he showed people that baton pass was busted, and then people started spamming mean look pass in GSC Invitational 2. Speaking of people who spam mean look pass, you've got your D4 repertoire. I think this is a little bit of a theme with ABR. He signed certain players who share his vision of the game into multiple slots for multiple tiers, at least as far as I understand it. And D4 repertoire is another player in the mold of ABR. Um,
Interesting.
I can speak to his resume by saying he's been pretty active on Pokemon Perfect. He's been uh, he was the circuit champion last year. Unfortunately, the tournament was a little bit scuffed. I was hosting it, and there was an unfortunate instant where he got an activity win against Kale because Kale did not um, show up to the scheduled times multiple times, but that's neither here nor there. He won two sets to make it to the finals or to win the finals, I guess. And he won a tournament. He's been very active on Pokemon Perfect. Haven't seen him do too much on Smogon in GSC at least, but he's a name who has been around, and he had a very successful GSC Invitational too, where he knocked out Zokuru, if I'm remembering correctly. Yes, M Dragon beat him first, and then
Yeah. Well,
D4 beat him the second time with Baton Pass.
he's been pretty active actually. He won the summer seasonal in summer seasonal 2 on Smogon, which was like a 128 man tournament or something, and the summer seasonal 4, the winter seasonal 4. So he won two circuit tournaments, which is pretty impressive in and of itself. And that was in 2022. And also, who was it against? I'm actually kind of curious. Against Xylo XX in the grand finals. So that's that's not you know
That's another player who's, yeah, if you know GSC, you know him. He's not one of the bigger names, but he's definitely somebody who can play, and he's also in and around
yeah. So
deep placements in tournaments.
he's won titles. Um, but yeah, I guess going back to that game with that match rather with Zakuru, it felt a bit like the RNG sort of took away the the opportunity for Zakuru to dominate, because I do value Zakuru highly, and I think I'm actually
Yeah, he another
astonished
player
he's
who didn't
not.
get invited.
I'm astonished he did not get drafted. But
He's also coming off of like jokes aside about his like 1-4, 1-5, and no, just 1-4 in the GSCPL. He's coming off of a
9-0 World Cup of Pokemon perfect record in
yes,
multiple
multiple gen.
tiers, multiple
Yeah.
gens. Gen 2, he actually only played one gen in Gen 2, and that's his
Yeah.
main. And then he just destroyed in DPP. And
He took a game off of Asta.
took a
Asta
game off of
Matitos.
Asta in ADV. That was crazy.
Yeah. And he even played one of your teams in GSC,
Oh yeah,
double fighter team.
fuck yeah, that was yeah.
I
Where he
think,
beat Century Express. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Century Express. Joker is not a small name. He's not new to the show. I think he's a player who's, uh, well, we don't have to get too into him. I think one of the reasons why he might not have made it to this tournament is because he's not everybody's cup of tea. A little bit of politics, and um, he's also when he's motivated, he can pull together 9-0 runs. When he's unmotivated, he'll bring some meme team and get in trouble.
Yeah, but I don't know. It just seems really strange. That's all.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's pretty strange because after so many years of him being there, being basically a mainstay, it's kind of I was taken quite aback. But
yes.
let's not
He's put together
forget
a number of years in SPL.
that we do, yeah, and we have some old names though. That's the thing. Like
Yes,
speaking of,
they're not
right?
just. It's not just a boomer annihilation event.
Yeah, it isn't just a boomer annihilation event. Actually, a lot of old names came back, and we have Lax, who
Mm-hmm.
that's for the old geezers out there. That's probably a name to remember, because I can't say I know Lax very well. What I do know is that when I made the GSC Invitational trailer, he turned up in those replays. So if you ever go back to see the trailers,
Oh
he's
yeah,
there.
he can play. You've seen him in SPL 12 playing GSC as a starter, I think. Um, he's somebody who's made a name for himself. He even that was a strong run from him. I don't remember his exact score. He wasn't the best player, but he was definitely competitive. And uh, if you want to be kind to him, you can say that his performance is, yeah, it could put him right into the middle of the pack comfortably. And if he has a good run of form and he actually cares about the tier enough to study it, he could even perform at a higher level. I think he's very much a pilot first, so I don't think we're going to be seeing too many original teams for him. So I don't understand. I don't know that we're going to see him as a substitute for D4 necessarily. I think he'll be playing across a number of different tiers. Um, but if he is put into GSC, I expect him to do well.
Yeah, I just tried looking up his some replays in SPL 12, but I didn't find any GSC. It was only Sword and Shield. So, anyways, there is also their other manager, Tony Flygon, who I suppose that they might have self bought one or the other, and Tony Flygon also knows how to play GSCOU and is
Mm.
3 times
Yeah,
runner up of the GSC Cup.
yeah, that's
You can't get any unluckier, any more cursed, honestly. But he's a great player as well, and will to have both of them means that Lax and D4 definitely have a lot of support.
Yeah, this is a sleeper pick, I think, because ABR is yeah, undoubtedly one of the best team builders in the game has ever seen. One of the best tiers across all tiers. Definitely got a revolutionary vision of the game. At the same time, you mentioned a second ago, you're not sure that you liked all the teams that he brought.
It's
And
so weird. It's like I am an ABR fan, but
yes,
I
you got
just
to admit he's a fisherman.
but in yeah, like fucking
I think
I don't
his
know.
teams
I think
win in the matchups that they get because he's so good at getting the good
I'm
matchups,
not
and
sure
he's
I
so
like
good.
the GSC as much. The teams that he builds that he
I
but
think I think he's very good at seeing what he doesn't have to prepare for and cutting corners in the builder to optimize. And I think he's very good at getting the matchup against a wide variety of the metagame. So he's not just fishing for one team or another team from an opponent, but he's very good at counter metaing.
yeah.
Um,
Uh,
and I think that style, it's possible that it doesn't work for Lax or
D4.
D4. On the other hand, if they can actually pilot his teams, then there's no doubt that they're going to get a lot more results than a lot of people are giving them credit for.
I would
I
like to
think,
rephrase and retract my statement. I was not happy about his SPL 12 run, even though he did pretty well, because I just didn't like all of the baton pass stuff. That said,
oh yeah,
I like I like him in general as a player. I like it when he brings stall. I've seen him play Oras, and it's just sick, in my opinion. Um,
yeah,
he's like one of
and
the only
he's.
people whose names come to mind when I think about Oras, and it's the tier I know the absolute least about. Uh,
I think he's yeah, he's coming off of, I don't know. Is it a down year? He started off strong with a dominant run in advance, coming off of a win in Callus Invitational, and then he qualified for the Classic, and he came into CI6 with a fresh vision of the game, ADV. But his quality of prep declined a little bit, and he didn't seem to be, I don't know, the most in love with the game. So he's taken a step away from playing clearly to become a manager. Maybe he devotes more time and energy to, uh, yeah, multiple tiers. And I suspect that we're going to see some ideas from this unit, um, regardless of what you think of D4 or of Lax or uh, of ABR as a whole.
yeah. Well, um, I don't know. Like, I think it's gonna be super fun. I'm pretty sure it's actually gonna be fun. I will try to. First of all, I'm not making any promises, guys, that I'm gonna be doing replay analyses. Okay, so calm down. I never did for SPL, but I'm gonna make a New Year's resolution to watch at least one game of SPL. All right, so that's already something. But no, I think there's a good reason to, and if I can find the time, that is. But I think, come on, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. I've been
This
more in
replay
love
analysis
with
that you'll
GSC
do?
OU.
Oh,
I'll definitely look at the games. I don't know if I can do week by week uploads, but this is why I wanted to give you guys something to look out for, storylines to look out for. This is what we have. These players, and perhaps there are more hidden gems that we are going to discover. Who knows? Who knows? You know?
fair
So
enough. Fair enough.
this is this is all I have to say. Honestly, it was really fun, and I
Do you want
can't
to do a
wait.
quick recap?
Recap. Are we gonna rank them?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. We
So
don't have to like have any hard and fast, just like ranges, I guess,
I would put the Cryonicles first.
with conflict and Vileman.
Yeah. Granted that we're not considering the fact that they could be like in a vacuum, pretending like the other tiers don't exist and they don't end up playing other tiers. I would put the Cryonicles first.
Mm.
The personally, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't think that's controversial.
And I think the Ruiners and Tigers are pretty close. They're like a close second, both of them.
Um,
Maybe.
Ruiners and Tigers, you say? Um,
Siatam, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm a huge fan. I guess I'm biased, but
I can live with that take. I don't think it's offensive, but yeah, I agree that yeah, Tigers are going to be competitive with them. Um, I'm looking at the Wolf Pack with ABR support. We
yeah, the
don't
Wolfpack
know
with ABR support is something not to under.
ain't none F with.
Yeah,
Um, D4. I know he can play. We'll see what he does with ABR teams in his hands. Same with Lex. I think that you can be high on them. You can put them in the next tier behind the conflict fileman and yeah, the conflict fileman led chronicles or the fear led tigers. You can even talk about the classiest in a similar tier, I guess. I'm not upset if you say that Dice is on that level. Or Dice and Siatam together. Um, yeah, I can live with those guys at the top. Um,
yeah.
and the rest of the guys, Amdragon,
It's really hard though because they're all really strong. They all have
yeah,
some arguments, like strong arguments.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be like hard and fast numbers. You can talk about like we can say Amdragon.
Yeah,
He could be the highest ceiling player. You know, he can easily go 9-0, and nobody will bat an eye. But if he goes 0-9, yeah, you're confirming certain people's suspicions about his form.
yeah.
So I would never say that he. I would never bet on him going negative. I don't think you can bet against him going or bet for him going 9-0, but uh, I would not bet against him going positive. We'll put it
I
that way.
think the thing is, it's really hard to get a positive record. I think he could get one, but if he had like this average, like with either 4 and 5, 5 and 4, or something around that's still respectable. I wouldn't put
Yeah,
it
I think
past
that
him to
should be
get
easy for
more,
him.
but he like getting 4 wins and 5 losses to me in SPL at SPL level is very respectable. That's not
Well,
something
if you're
anybody
looking
can
at the
get.
competition, Century Express, Conflict, Fear,
Yeah,
Siatam,
it's hard.
Hyoga, Alice. Yeah, breaking even against that crowd is
It's tough.
that yeah, that takes something.
Alice is strong to me execution wise. They can, like we said earlier, I think that the sharks and the tyrants would sort of have the hardest times possibly, just in terms of experience with mainlining GSC, which is not something they have in SPL. Though Raichy does. Raichy does.
Yeah. Um yeah, I feel like We can talk about Alice as well. As like the next group of players with Hyoga.
Yeah, I
And
would
then I
put them
think
in
for
the
the
same
rest of the
rank.
guys, we don't know what we're gonna get. They could surprise us and bring something interesting. I think something. It's a little. So I don't know who your Mr. T is, who's throwing shade on these players, but for all the people who thought that they could just ignore some of the games in SPL, it's a little bit unfortunate that D4 Repertoire, one of the least known players on the list, is going to be coming with ABR teams, and Hyoga is, yeah, we don't know what he's going to do, but he's known to be good, and Alice is a mystery, so I think you have to. This is much must-watch GSC for the fans.
But Hyoga also has to care,
Yeah,
because he's one of the people that when he doesn't care, he won't put in the effort. Um, will put in zero, even like just not even show. I don't think that's gonna be the case for SPL, but it's already hard. It's kind of a challenge, a big challenge when you don't have, presumably you don't have support. Um, but of course,
I think we can say the same about M Dragon. Not that he's not going to try, but like
yeah,
if he puts in the effort to develop a new theory of the metagame, um, adapt to the modern game, then we could see uh, the rise of the dragon in 2023
hell
in
yeah,
SPL
I like the
14.
sound of that.
Um, really looking forward to this actually.
Me
Um,
too.
yeah,
All right, guys. Um, what more to say besides keep an eye out and all that feel good shit like stay safe and blah blah blah. You know, if you do care to subscribe and for some reason you're still listening to me ramble on with my friend, then go ahead, you know. But I'm super busy, so it's gonna be real hard to do replay coverage. So just keep an eye out and take care.
I'm going to be catching the game, so
All right then, you do that.
I'll let you know if there's anything interesting.
Bye bye, everybody.